This conference will now be recorded.
Welcome today to Live Talk with Dr. B. We have our continued guest, Dr. Doug Smith, and Travis is joining us again today. So if any of our viewers would like to ask a question, there is up in the right-hand corner a chat button that you can use to ask our questions. And Dr. B, take it away.
Thank you very much, Chrissy. I appreciate that. And hi, Doug, and hi, Travis. How are you all?
Hey, Mr. B. Doing well, thank you.
All right. I know we have some exciting things to show you today, and they're new. Somebody made a big comment yesterday, sent it in, said that watching the live show made them realize that they really want to take the Smith DNA test, and they're going to join. So I just got that this morning. So I just thought I'd let y'all know. And with that, I'm going off. And Doug, I have a special present for you.
Well, Dr. B, I've got a special present for you. I brought my big cup with the picture of my.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
That was my Christmas present last year.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, that's my little baby. Travis, how are you today?
Doing good, sir. How are you, Doug?
You look great. You look great. All right, so I don't know about you guys, but I kind of grumbled to myself all yesterday afternoon after the show because, oh no, and B, that had better not be the surprise you have for me. If you've got a big picture of Dr. Nora Volkow, that's just gonna ruin my day. Because okay. Even and we should show a picture. Even talking about her yesterday, the residual of the show just stayed in my head all day. I'm so irritated by what she's done that yes,
Chrissy, show it, baby.
She lit. Oh boy,
that's her. I know that lady. I know that lady. I've seen her before.
Yeah, she's all over the place.
Look what it says underneath.
I don't know if I'm allowed to say this, but she looks like a nut.
You see what it says underneath?
I don't know if can you read it to us, B?
Dr. Volkow has published more than 800 peer-reviewed articles, written more than 100 books, chapters, manuscripts, and articles, co-edited Neuroscience in the 21st Century, and edited four books on brain imaging for mental and substance abuse disorders.
I would like to change that caption to Dr. Volkow is now known as the architect of the opioid crisis.
Well, I had to give you the picture of her petting the brain.
I concur with that.
All right, so if there's, the listener is going to be confused, and here we are, and let's be honest, guys, we're throwing rocks at someone that isn't here to defend themselves. So let's go back to the beginning and walk the listener through. Number one, why we're showing a picture of Dr. Volkow. Number two, why we find Dr. Volkow so irritating. And number three, why we are now referring to Dr. Volkow as the architect of the opioid crisis. And Travis, by that, what I mean is, I would say Dr. Volkow is one of the two people most responsible for the fact that your DNA has been permanently changed. Okay, so we're getting down to the nuts and bolts of what's going on here. And Travis, you and I can have a conversation, but I personally believe that what Dr. Volkow did is so outrageous that we need to call for her resignation. And we need to demand that Congress hold her accountable and call for her resignation because what she's done is so outrageous. Now, let's walk the viewer through this so we're not just throwing rocks out of context. Chrissy, if you could please, let's start with the Dr. Volkow article. And this is the 2016 article that appeared in January, the New England Journal of Medicine. I personally believe this article was published in direct retaliation for the article that was published by Dr. Nutt over in England, but we'll get into that later. Um, and so that the listener knows, here is the article by Dr. Volkow and a couple of other people, one of whom is on the board of Indivior. We'll talk about that later. But here is the article by Dr. Volkow. And Travis, you remember yesterday you read this quote. So Travis, again, can you read this quote from Dr. Volkow, and this is in reference to the brain disease model of addiction, and this is their big theory on how dopamine causes what is known as addiction. So Travis, can you read that for us?
Sure, no problem, Doug. It says all known addictive drugs activate reward regions in the brain by causing sharp increases in the release of dopamine, 11-13.
So she's given some scientific references there, 11 through 13, which would be in the bibliography at the end of the paper. So their big theory of addiction is that when you take something that's addictive, anything that's addictive, she uses the word all addictive drugs, not some, not a few, not a handful, all addictive drugs do their damage, work their magic by causing a surge in dopamine in the brain, specifically in the reward centers of the brain. And that should be a pretty easy thing to look into. And again, we point out to the reader, this is 2016, okay? And this is a statement in a scientific medical journal, the New England Journal of Medicine, the most prestigious journal in the world. So, Chrissy, if we could, let's jump ahead to the Daglish article. Now, remember, this is Volkow, Dr. Nora Volkow, whose picture we all just threw rocks at. This is Dr. Nora Volkow in 2016. And now we're going back to a British study, a very well done study, back in 2009 by Dr. Daglish and his whole team over there in England. And basically what they did in the Daglish study was they went to the methadone clinic, got some volunteers, gave them some opioids, used a PET scan, PET, positron emission tomography, of which Dr. Volkow puts forth she is a world-renowned expert in PET scan. And in this study, they gave volunteers an opioid, and there was no surge in dopamine. This was 2009. The Volkow article was 2016. And Volkow doesn't even reference the fact that the previous studies had shown no surge in dopamine. And then, Chrissy, if you would, let's jump forward to the Watson study. And again, what we're looking at here is in 2016, Volkow said all addictive cause a surge in dopamine in the brain. We just looked at the study. They gave opioids, no surge in brain dopamine. We're now looking at the 2014 Watson study. And in fact, Travis, if you can please, I pulled the conclusion from the study. Striatal means brain. And if you would please, Travis, read that quote for us. Let's go over that quote together.
Sure, no problem. It says there was no detectable increases in the striatal dopamine levels to either heroin reward or expectation of reward.
I don't see how you can get any clearer than that. Watson went to the local methadone clinic. He got some volunteers. He gave them heroin. He put them through the PET scan, positron emission tomography. Don't worry about the science. He gave them heroin, measured the dopamine in their brain. There was no surge in dopamine. So you've got two very well done studies that replicate each other, both of which establish the science. That's what these studies have done. They have established the science. And the science is very clear. There is no surge in brain dopamine when given an opioid. And now, Chrissy, if you can, please, let's go back to the Dr. Volkow study from 2016. We keep emphasizing the dates because 2016 is after these two previous studies. And the rules of science are, if something's been disproven, then it's been disproven. And if something's been disproven and you still run around and claim it's true, you're not being scientific. You're contrary to the ways of science. You've abandoned the ways of science. So, Travis, if you could please let's read that quote again by Dr. Volkow from 2016.
Okay, no problem. It says all known addictive drugs activate reward regions in the brain by causing sharp increases in the release of dopamine, 11-13.
All right, so very clearly, we're into some really heavy duty science here. And if we're not careful, we will lose our listeners. So, Travis, let's you and I take a few minutes here and let's go over this and let's kind of put everything in context and explain it to everybody. Travis, first, I'm going to make an effort at explaining it. Then I'm going to ask you to make an effort at explaining it. And
Okay.
we'll discuss our effort. So, the way I would phrase this is that for Dr. Volkow to say all known addictive drugs cause a surge in dopamine and ignore the 2 previous studies with opioids that showed no surge in dopamine, and for Dr. Volkow to not even mention the existence of those 2 studies. And that's what really gets under my skin here. He doesn't even mention the existence of those 2 studies. As a physician, from my perspective, that looks like an attempt to deceive. She's hiding the other evidence from me while making a claim that she wants me to believe. That's deceptive. That's dishonest. And it really gets under my skin that someone is in a very prominent paid government position and is using her position, abusing her position of trust to shove out lies that, in my opinion, are directly related, Travis, to why your DNA ended up damaged. All right, Travis.
Yeah, Doug, I feel the same way. For you to make this statement to the world and, to everybody in the medical field as well, and then have, the evidence to back up that this theory of hers is not accurate. As just a regular, ordinary person and a patient, it makes me not trust, pretty much not trust anybody in the medical industry. It also makes me not trust the government, and it makes me wonder why they're allowing her to push, things of this nature that can clearly be shown as not true. And I don't understand why they're allowing this to happen. I don't get it because, if the truth was out there before people took this medicine, I highly doubt half of the people that have taken opioids in the past would have ever touched them. And that's the problem that I have with this. That's what makes me so angry about it. It's misleading. It's not accurate, and it's not true. I mean, we have 2 prior tests, as we showed on screen right now, that can prove that there's no surge of dopamine when someone took heroin. So for them to continue to say this, it's just it's very misleading. It makes me feel uneasy about the whole thing. And I agree with you. I think that we should call upon Congress and have her, she needs to be fired. She needs to resign immediately. I mean, this can't go on. I mean, people's lives are at risk, and that's how I feel about this, Doug.
Very well stated, Travis. Very well stated. I found myself listening to every word you said. Travis, as a physician, I feel like this was an attempt to deceive. As a physician, I feel like this was an attempt to hide valid scientific evidence and to put forth something that's not supported by science. Travis, can you understand why I feel that way?
Yes, I can. And I'm not a scientist, and I'm not a doctor, but I'm a patient, and this bothers me. It bothers me. It bothers me. It shouldn't be allowed.
Christy, let's jump ahead to the graphic for today. Now, Travis, you haven't seen this graphic before. This is one of the most intimidating graphics we're gonna ever have on the show. This graphic is intimidating. Okay, and I believe the reason that this graphic is so intimidating is so that the viewer just goes away. Okay, I believe
Okay.
the reason this graphic is so complex is so that a person like would look at it, either one of us would look at it and go, oh, wow, these people must really know what's going on, because look at the complexity of the graphic that they drew. And Travis, you got to admit, there's a lot of activity in this graphic, and it's a brain. And not only are there a lot of words, there are a lot of really big words. And I think that's what they tried to do here, is hide behind some really big words. And Travis, I apologize that we're just throwing this on you on the run here, but we did.
Okay.
So now that we've apologized, let's move forward. Travis, on there, you see that what they've done here is divide addiction into a number of phases. Okay, binge and intoxication, withdrawal, craving, and Travis, if you would please look on there to where they're talking about withdrawal and talking about what withdrawal feels like, and talking about how their theory looks at withdrawal. And let's see if I can blow this up.
Are you talking about where it says withdrawal and negative effect, and then it goes has the arrow going to stress and reward?
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So in their view, withdrawal is a negative effect, right?
Correct. In their view.
What in the world is a negative effect? Now look at the bottom. Okay, you see that little chart at the bottom, and it says stage of addiction, and underneath it, it has binge and intoxication, withdrawal and negative affect, and preoccupation, anticipation. You see that?
Yes. Yes, sir, I do.
Okay. See the line that says stage of addiction?
Stage of addiction. Yes.
All right. You see what it says over to the right there on the same line? Can you read that for us?
It says feeling euphoric.
Go up one. See where it says shifting drivers resulting from neuroadaptation.
Oh, shifting drivers from, yep, I see that. From neuroadaptations. I see that. Sorry about that.
Travis, I went to medical school, I went to residency. I worked in emergency medicine for years. If there's anything I haven't done, anything I haven't seen, I don't want to do it, and I don't want to see it. Okay. Although I loved my career, but it was a brutal career. That ER is a rough place some days. And Travis, I have absolutely no clue whatsoever. After an entire career in medicine, I have no clue whatsoever what shifting drivers resulting from neuroadaptations even means. What is a shifting driver? What is a driver? What is a driver in the brain? How does a driver in the brain shift? Okay, I didn't know my brain had drivers. Much less did I know my brain had drivers that could shift. Much less did I know my brain had drivers that could shift from something called neuroadaptations. Travis, that's gobbledygook.
Wow.
But they put it on here with big pictures and big words. And quite frankly, what they're trying to do here, Travis, is to give the illusion that they know what's going on. Travis, I'm older than you, and growing up, once a year, there was this movie that came on TV, and we never missed it. It came on once a year, and it was called The Wizard of Oz. Okay, now TV is different, and you go to the internet, Wizard of Oz anytime you remember. But B's old enough to remember, as am I, when once a year, The Wizard of Oz would come out on TV, and families gathered around the TV, and we watched this movie. And for many of us, myself included, it was the first time we ever saw color TV.
Yeah, they used to do it when I was a kid as well.
Right. All right. You're old enough then. All right. So you remember the wizard behind the curtain?
Yes.
Travis?
Yes, at Emerald City, the one that was at Emerald City.
Yep. Travis, welcome once again to the wizard behind the curtain. It's no different. Travis, you've heard the term snake oil before, right?
No, I haven't.
Wow, Dr. B and I are really going to show our age today. When the fairs and the traveling shows would travel from county to county, early on, they're gone now, but there would be these guys that would sell these elixirs, these magic potions. They would cure everything that ailed you. And some of it was snake oil obtained from snakes. It was just colored water. So when you say something is snake oil, what you mean is it's fake. It's posing as a medication, as a potion, but it's just fake.
Right.
So, Travis,
I saw that in the movie one time. I know what you're talking about.
this stuff is garbage. This stuff is fake. Now, let's keep going here. Travis, you've been through withdrawal, right?
Yes, sir, I have.
It was pretty bad, wasn't it?
Bad is an understatement. It was it was worse than bad.
And my guess is the overwhelming majority of people who will eventually listen to this recording have themselves been through withdrawal. So, Travis, let's look to see what Dr. Volkow and her experts say about withdrawal. And Travis, you can see it right there in that little chart at the bottom. Top of the chart says stage of addiction.
Yep.
Underneath it, binge and intoxication. Underneath that, it says withdrawal and negative effect.
Yeah.
Now,
it says, you want me to read it?
Yeah. What does it say to the right?
It says feeling reduced energy.
Feeling
reduced. Oh, sorry.
Energy. Travis, does that make any sense to you?
You're breaking up a little bit, Doug. Sorry about that.
Oh, sorry. We've got some cloud cover today.
Okay.
Travis, does that make sense to you? Feeling reduced energy?
No, not really. To an extent, yes, but that's not all that happens. That's not accurate of what happens to you whenever you go through withdrawal. You don't just feel reduced energy. That's not something that just happens.
According to Dr. Volkow, what happened to you and everybody else when you went through withdrawal is that you were just feeling reduced energy. Feeling reduced. And not only that, but look to the right of that. Travis.
Yeah, I saw that.
Not only were you feeling reduced energy, but what else?
I was feeling reduced excitement. I think that is actually pretty comical. I can't believe they would even write that down.
Travis, that's one thing I love about you, man. You just cut right through it. I love it. I love it.
I mean, it's not true. That part is not true. It's not. I mean, I've been through withdrawal. That's garbage. I mean, I don't know what the chart means because I'm not a scientist. I'm not a doctor, but I can tell you right now, I know what withdrawal is, and that's not right. That's a lie.
Travis, this is Dr. Volkow. She's a world-renowned expert. Dr. B just told us how many articles she's printed, how many books she's written, how famous she is.
Well, she must know some pretty powerful people or was born into the right family because she is not telling the truth about this. I'll tell you that right now. Travis, and anybody that's ever been in withdrawal will back me up on that.
Feeling reduced energy, feeling reduced excitement, feeling depressed and anxious, all because of shifting drivers resulting from neuroadaptations.
You don't feel anything. You're so sick. That's all that happens when you're in withdrawal. You are so sick, you feel nothing. You're so sick that you just rather die than be alive. That's what happens. And it's a physical sickness.
Travis, how did she get away with this garbage?
I have no idea, Doug. I'd like to go and ask some questions myself to her personally. I wish I could talk to her to ask her how she got away with it herself. How would you print this and be okay with telling this to the world? That's how I feel right now after reading this chart.
All right, Travis, you are the lead plaintiff in this class action lawsuit. Travis, you're one of the few people in the world with any legitimacy that can go to the members of Congress and call for her resignation.
I'd like to do that. I'd like to call for her resignation. I think that's something that needs to happen.
Travis, I will put forth that on behalf of all the people that you represent. You are the lead plaintiff. You represent all of them. Everyone that signs up for this DNA test and everyone that signs up for this class action lawsuit, you represent them. Travis, I'll go far as to say that, in my opinion, both you and I have a moral obligation to go to Congress, point out this woman for the snake oil salesman that she is, demand her resignation. That's my opinion.
Yeah, I agree with that 100%. And it'd be an honor to do that for everybody that's ever lost a loved one, anyone going through opioid problems or withdrawal, anything like that. It'd be an honor because I think that's something that needs to happen, Doug.
So, Travis, we only got about 2 minutes here, and then Dr. B's gonna cut us off, as she should. We're out of time. Travis, up until today, were you aware that this is what the psychiatrists were saying? Was that when you felt withdrawal, you were feeling reduced excitement?
No, sir. I was not aware of that.
Travis, I'll go so far as to say that I think very few people who have had their DNA damaged, such as yourself, are aware of what the psychiatrists are actually saying. And I think if people were aware of what the psychiatrist is actually saying, they would stand up and revolt, because these people are absolutely clueless. Dr. B, you got anything you want to add today?
Are they clueless or are they lazy?
They're clueless. Well, I want to be very careful here. And by the way, as you'll hear me say on a regular basis, I'm not about to throw my colleagues in psychiatry under the bus. I don't have to. They've already thrown themselves under the bus. I want to be very careful. Any words we say about motives, because how do you ever really know what another person's motive is? I go back to the Alex Murdaugh case. Okay, here's a man who was now facing withdrawal. Do we really understand his motives? I don't really, and quite frankly, I don't think it matters what her motives are. She lied. She was deceptive. She abused her power and trust. That's how I look at it.
And to me, she's the reason for a lot of people's deaths. I'm sorry. I feel like she's the reason that this continues to happen. And she's the reason that so many people's DNA has changed and their blood has been poisoned. I mean, it's gotta be put to a stop. It's gotta be put to an end. You talk about snake oil, we need to cut the head off the snake. Because once you cut the head off the snake, everything ends.
I agree.
So that's how I feel about this.
Dr. B, it's all yours.
Well, I just think too that some people just once it's out there and they've signed their name to it, they don't want to know anymore. Oops, there's Chrissy and there's our bell. All right, Chrissy, it's all yours.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Dr. Doug Smith and Travis. Always the information is so helpful to everybody. And thank you for our listeners. And we hope to see you guys soon again. We are here every Monday through Thursday between 12:30 and 1. So y'all have a great day.
And Doug, you're really lucky that she didn't give you the picture the second time.
I brought my picture.
Yeah, yours is better. Goodbye, everybody.